We've been talking coming off last night, Watson and Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett. We've been talking about the quarterbacks. There's nobody better discussing quarterbacks than Tim Jenkins, quarterback trainer, analyst, all things QB on YouTube. Make sure to check out the new videos on Brock Purdy, Tua, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. It's all there. You can also find Tim Jenkins on Twitter at TJenkinsElite, and he joins us now. Hi, Tim. We say hi to you and thank you. I want to start with Bryce Young. Maybe it's a lack of talent on the outside offensive line, but let's start there. What'd you see from the Carolina #1 overall pick last night against New Orleans?
Yeah, I mean, I think you see what you see from typical number one overall picks, which is that team was picking #1 for a reason, right? Like, I mean, I think the reality is they've kind of depleted their weapons, right? And then you look at what they're trying to get done with him from he's just holding the ball too long, right? They're trying to push the ball down the field. All of a sudden he holds it too long and he takes a sack. Then you turn on the tape and you go, hey, why in the heck were you holding the ball so long? And it's just guys are blanking it, right? So for me, it's like I think when you look at Carolina, that's going to be a tough road to get him to be productive. I think the kid has the talent for it. I just think the reality is he is going to get beat down for a while, and that is part of the process for some of these guys. And I think if anyone can handle it, it's probably him. But it's a tough road for Carolina right now.
Tim, on your YouTube channel, you've got a couple of videos on Justin Fields, All Things QB, hosted by Tim Jenkins. You can find it over on YouTube. Just kind of give us your assessment for people that have not had the opportunity yet to watch what you discussed and what you thought about him in terms of potentially regressing.
Yeah, man, if you're not a Bears fan, don't watch it. It's horrible. I think, like, the reality is Justin is struggling and he's missing concepts. But if you guys were to just sit here and speculate and say, like, hey, I've only watched highlights of Justin Fields, what I guarantee everyone in this room would be able to come up with is, hey, let's put him in some RPO situations, right, where he can get out of the pocket. Well, they've had 2 designed quarterback runs through 2 games, and they've really done no RPO, right? Anytime you see him stick the ball out in shotgun, it's like a modified play action, which doesn't really influence anybody either. Then you'd say, hey, let's try to get DJ Moore the ball. They haven't done that. DJ Moore had 6 catches for 104 yards, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not sure he was progression #1 on any of them. And then you sit there and you would say, hey, let's try to go fast to simplify the defense we're facing, and they're slowing down and going to the huddle. I think it's like, yeah, it's tough up there in Chicago right now. I think this staff and this quarterback might not be the best fit. I know they're changing some of his footwork, which I also think is just a terrible decision with where he's at in the development process. So I just think, yeah, it's a fire up there in Chicago right now. And the nice thing for them, though, is they are going to play in one of the easier places in football, which is Arrowhead and the Chiefs. They don't have a test at all.
Okay, well, hold on. I want to follow up because I love this. A great question, Amal and Tim. I want to talk when you're speaking about Justin Fields. How much of it is system? And as a former quarterback yourself and a quarterback trainer, that's what you do. What do you see from Fields? Help Chicago Bears fans understand. What do you see passing-wise that should give them hope?
Yeah, so this is what I would tell you. So when you say, like, how much is system and how much is Fields? Well, I'll give you the exact scenario, okay? Week 1, Justin misses a wide-open sail route, and it was the second guy in his progression, meaning you're supposed to peak the outside go, the outside ultra-high. That's your first progression. Then you get to your sail route, okay? Justin misses a wide-open sail route, and he gets to his third progression, which is his back out of the backfield. So, one, you would at a rudimentary level, you'd say, well, that's on Justin, right? His number 2 progression was open, and he missed it. Well, is it on Justin that his right foot is back in the shotgun? So instead of taking a traditional burn-it-up 5, hitch to the ultra-high, reset to the sail like he's done at Ohio State and all of his years playing quarterback, instead now we're right foot back, and we're going to go 4, okay? So now I'm getting that sail route a split second early. Linebacker's still carrying him, so then I get to my check down because I feel like the linebackers carried it. And a lot of people say, well, Tim, Aaron Rodgers plays with his right foot back, or this guy plays with his right foot back. It's like, remind me what those guys did when they were learning to play quarterback in the National Football League, because you want to go ahead and put old Aaron Rodgers tape on. It doesn't look anything like it does now. The reason those vets play with their right foot back and some of those guys is because, listen, their eyes getting somewhere early won't fool them. To me, the worst thing you can do for a young quarterback is get his eyes sped up in the progression versus checking it at the right time. So to me, it's like that's the push-pull of is it scheme or is it Justin? Because to be honest with you, I tell you, that's 100% scheme. Because if we don't scheme up our footwork to match our eyes in the progression, you know, that's something that we're coaching to happen, right? However, you could easily spin it as, hey, you got to be good enough to realize the backer's carrying right now, but he's going to drop off. And then to that, you just say, like, listen, with the amount of reps you get because of what the NFLPA's negotiated for some reason that we're going to, like, not develop guys in practice because we don't want to practice hard anymore, like, you just can't. You can't get enough reps on a young quarterback without seasons and seasons of seeing these concepts.
Tim, similar question. Patrick just asked you a great question. In Denver, is it Russell Wilson? Is it Sean Payton? Combination of both? Or is Russell Wilson just done and there's nothing to come back to?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think the Broncos' offense doing pretty good. I think they don't look as productive because week one they played a weird game. It was like they had like something like 4 or 5 possessions. Like it was both teams held on the football, so then you get the lower scoring, and then all of a sudden they drop 33. The bigger issue to me, the surprise in Denver when I watched the tape is the defense, right? Like I think Sam Howell's a better quarterback than we sometimes give him credit for. I think he's got that Commanders offense rolling a little bit. But, man, giving up 35 – that's tough. And even if you remove the Hail Mary from it, the Broncos still score 27. And you sit there and you felt pretty good about a lot of the possessions. Now, there's a situation where it's like Russ didn't scramble. He's got to hold on to the ball. He ends up fumbling. But those are things that you kind of live with from the quarterback side of it, right? When your guy's extending, trying to make a play, you kind of live with those. I think Russ is going to have a bounce-back year this year. I like what Sean Payton's doing with this offense. I like the Mims kid, man. I mean, he had 2 big-time explosive plays. That was kind of exciting to see from the young kid. So that's exciting. But this defense, you sit there and you go, how are they getting gashed? You got Surtain, you got Simmons, you got all these coverage guys, and you're like, how are we getting gashed? It just doesn't make sense. So that, to me, is where I think this Broncos team is losing football games. I think Russ is doing pretty good. I think Sean's got him on the right track. That offense, I really believe, will be dynamic. It could have been so much better if they didn't lose Tim Patrick to injury in training camp, but I still think they kind of have the horses to make a run late in the year.
Okay, QB guru Tim Jenkins, weekly spot here on Sharp Money. Love Tim, love talking quarterbacks. Let's stay with the same game. You got 2 minutes, and we'll come back after the break with you, Tim. Sam Howell. Dustin clowned me. He said he got lucky when he split the defenders in the back of the end zone with McLaurin. I thought that was all arm strength. I thought he played an A-plus game against the Broncos. What are you seeing from Howell with the Commanders?
Yeah, I mean, I like Howell. I like him. I broke down his week 1 stuff. Here's what every once in a while a quarterback will fit something in that you go, oh, man, I don't know if I'd have tested that, right? But then we also got to realize they got shots in their golf bag that we don't have, right? We've all played with guys where you sit there and you go, man, I can't believe you just hit a 64-degree there, but, you know, I couldn't do that, but, hey, good for you. So I think sometimes we got to let NFL quarterbacks have a pass there. But, man, his week 1 stuff, what you like most about Sam isn't even sexy from a quarterback perspective. It's like, you know, you guys remember week 1 when he gets knocked the hell out on the sideline, right? The ref goes down, and then he's back in there battling for his dudes. Like, that's what I think part of this Commanders team is so galvanized by, is because you've got a guy that you get in the huddle, and he's bloodied up, and he's like, no, I'm here to ride with you. Like, there's something about that galvanizes the football team. And then you look at it, man, they're down 21-3 or 21-7, and they fight all the way back. And a lot of that has to do with the kid is just grinding through his progressions, and I think Bieniemy also feels like he has something to prove up there.
Okay, Brock Purdy, obviously it's been discussed ad nauseum, and that being Mr. Irrelevant, but you just did a breakdown on Purdy. What have you seen from Purdy, and what do you expect from him moving forward?
Yeah, I'm excited about Purdy. So it's twofold. His tape, I think, is solid, right? Week 2, he made the throws he was supposed to make. He made a couple of tough ones where it's like, man, they've got a free runner, and he hits a dig route, you know, a little 12-yard in route with someone bearing down on him. He made a big throw to Debo. here's the thing. He had 2 significant misses. They ran sluggo, right, which for the people listening that don't know what that is, it's slant and go. So receiver goes up 3 steps, in 3 steps. He avoids contact, gets outside, and gets vertical, right? That's how we're going to teach sluggo. We have Ayuk wide open. Purdy air mails him, which, like, on the surface you say, hey, one physical, miss a game, that's fine, right? But then we bounce back and we have Debo running on almost the same Jimmy G Super Bowl play, right? Guys wide open, and we airmail him again. Those are the things where I sit there and I'm just like, man, the question isn't whether or not Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. He is. It's not whether or not this Niners team is a good ball club, because it feels like they're year in and year out a good ball club. The question is, can he get them over the hump? And those are the plays that you sit there and you go, hey, it doesn't bite you in the tail against the Rams week 2, but does it bite you in the tail in the NFC title against the Eagles or the divisional round against the Cowboys? Like, when do these things bite us, and is he the guy who's going to step up and get him over that hump? That's what we need to see over the next few weeks, because it's like the plays that he's supposed to make, he's making, which already puts him in a different echelon than the guys that we kind of discussed, last segment. But to get to that next level of quarterback play where you're the guy who carries them through the playoffs, we can't then miss those deep shots, and then we definitely can't miss some of these third downs or red zone throws that he missed in week 2.
Tim, Jalen Hurts, aside from breaking him down in terms of what he's done, what has been the biggest ascension that you've seen with him from the collegiate level to the professional level? I have to tell you, that national championship game, I thought this is the last of we're going to hear from this guy, and Tua came in, and I thought it was going to be history. But he has kind of reinvented himself into a superstar. What really helped him ascend to that level?
Yeah, this is. I'm going to give you such a bad answer, but I really believe it's the truth. When you listen to him talk to his teammates, we all should have just immediately gone all in on him, because he has that demeanor of, no matter what you do to me, I am coming back. And it reminds me so much of that guy who, just stopped playing, who has 7 rings, right? Where it's like, no matter what you do to me at Michigan or what you do to me at New England, like, I'm going to keep coming back. And it's like, because, I'm in this business, right, of developing quarterbacks. We spend so much time getting these guys driving range ready, right, where at least you won't embarrass yourself with how you throw the ball. You throw the ball effectively, your drop is clean, you know what to do. And the hardest thing is, it's like, but that's just a piece of it, right? Like, that's what I always joke about playing quarterback and why it's the hardest. I would think pitching is the hardest thing to do. If the third base coach could come out, come off the side and smack you in the face, he can't, right? Like, quarterbacks do everything pitchers do from a mechanical standpoint. And then you also got to remember, we have to diagnose what 21 other people are doing. And, oh, by the way, someone might just come off the edge clean and just rest you, right? Like, that's where Jalen Hurts, to me, is that guy, is because it's everything else. Like, he's not that, like, if we're being honest, he's not that clean of a passer, right? He's not that efficient from a footwork standpoint. But he makes those plays where it just, like, it looks like in the huddle, it just looks like he has 10 guys that look at him and know, because we have this dude, we're going to be okay. And that's what sometimes makes these guys so great, and it has nothing to do with how pretty they throw or all that. So I agree with you, right? We saw him get benched for Tua. How many kids grow up wanting to play quarterback, get benched in the national title, and would have enough mental fortitude to bounce back? Not very many, right? So just there, it's like incredible. And then to see what he's done with the Eagles, I'm super impressed with him. I don't think he's particularly gifted in any trait other than maybe the fact that with how big and strong he is when he gets downhill and runs a little bit. But I do think from a quarterback standpoint, mentally and how he leads, he's just about everything you want.
Okay, Tim, Trevor Lawrence to me has always kind of looked like the prototype. So let's discuss. Week 2 against Kansas City, red zone issues, third down inefficiencies. Peterson came out, kind of put the blame a little bit on the offense, not necessarily the play calling. Lawrence is one of those I assumed can't miss, but are you seeing something differently when taking a look at the tape?
Yeah, the week 1 stuff we broke down looked great. And then you sit there and you go week 2, and your worry with it is that it happens against a quality opponent, right? That's always my worry with some of these guys, where you sit there and you go, you know, hey, you win a game you're supposed to win against Indianapolis, right, or whoever they had week 1. And then you have Kansas City, the game you're not supposed to win, the game who, hey, they're the big dog in the AFC. You're the guy trying to be the contender. And we basically really have a dud of a game, right? Those are the kind of things that you hate. I think the reality is I think Kansas City did a really good job covering up Ridley, right? I think down tight or situations that mattered, you saw coverages that either bracketed Ridley or, hey, we robbed to Ridley's side, meaning that drop-down safety kind of got over to Ridley's side. And then I just don't think Kirk really created separation, or there wasn't that number 2 guy who stepped up and said, hey, I'll be the guy who's going to, create separation because they're leaving me ISO'd. That, to me, is my bigger worry if I'm a Jacksonville fan. It's not so much Trevor. Like, I think Trevor obviously could have played better. Like, you can't complete 50% of your passes in the NFL and then think, hey, I played a good game, right? But I do think what we really need to see is who is that guy that's going to be opposite Ridley, whether it's a tight end, whether it's a receiver, who's going to be able to step up and be somebody that when people decide to bracket away from on third down can then also be the guy who gets open against man coverage.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.